What's up, guys? Chasing Lonely here with episode number 15, I believe, of From Grove to Glory. So it's been a hectic old process. Those who watch the rest of the content on the channel know I'm batch recording a bunch of stuff because I need to cover myself for exams. So that's kind of what this is part of. Right, today we are going to Milan, and it occurred to me actually that I haven't for a while gone through what I've been doing with the car and things, because there's not been a lot going on, if I'm honest. I'm currently designing a new gearbox because that's the area we're currently weakest in. In terms of actually building parts so far this season, there's not been a lot of work done. I built a couple of brakes, couple of engines, couple of front wings, couple of gearboxes already. I've essentially built a couple of each part, and I've just started working on the illegal parts to try and boost us heading towards next season, because I feel like the car we have right now, I've just realised I should be working on that. I shouldn't be working on that, it's fine. Yeah, I've reached that point where the car, I think, is good enough to achieve what we need to achieve this season. Just fill these in here, so we've got the reliability work going on. Yeah, the car is good enough to achieve what we need it to achieve this season. So I'm just sort of starting on building towards next season's car, which is kind of the plan. The HQ upgrades, they're still ongoing. We're still building the test track. We're building the forecasting centre up to level 3, and we're building the road car factory, because the road car factory brings in a big old bonus. If I can find it on here. I think I talked about this at the time I did it, but it's been a few episodes, so you have to forgive me. Where does it have the new buildings? There we go. The road car factory brings in an extra £714,000 per race. The test track just helps us build better engines. But £714,000 a race would go a long way to clearing some of this deficit. The other problem we've got as well, of course, is that we have very weak sponsors. The money we've got coming in from these guys is not big money. It's not big money. So we need to get ourselves to the end of this season, and then we should be able to get better sponsors, because we're already at the 5-star sponsor appeal level. And as you can see, I think it's on the home page, we have the worst sponsors on the grid by absolutely miles. So that's kind of our two big focuses right now. We're working on the sponsors. Getting new sponsors is going to be a thing for next season anyway. Working on the headquarters and trying to build a car that is going to be at least good enough to compete further up the field towards next season. In terms of how things are going in the standings, Fernando Alonso, who's only had a couple of races with us, is currently sat in 11th in the Drivers' Championship. George Russell is at 12th, and Kubica is at 15th, which means in the teams we are currently sitting 5th in a kind of fairly close battle with the Haas team in midfield. If you look at the races, I mean, Alonso has had 3 races with us, and he's already got himself, a 10th place, a 4th place. Did I do the maths right in my head there? 10th place, a 5th place, and a 2nd place. So he is doing exactly what we brought him in to do, which is score us as many points as humanly possible. George Russell has had a few races where he's either not raced or not scored points. Kubica actually has been slightly more consistent as a point scorer over the course of the season, but he has also not scored as many points, which is why he's currently out of the seat, where it's currently Russell and Alonso in. So we need to go into the race in Milan. Brain is not English in problem. Because there's such little difference anyway. I mean, none of these make any big dents in what we actually take. We're going to take the big one, the 20,000, for finishing 10th or above, because we know we can do it. Tyre wear is low on this one, so I think we're probably looking about right if we take the 663. Actually, that should do it, because we should be able to get through the race using a couple of sets of mediums, a couple and a set of softs. We might be able to get through the whole race, the whole 40 laps, using one set of hards. It's not unknown. So that's kind of where we're at. Just check the part fitting, make sure I've got the right parts on the right cars, because I have been developing stuff. Apparently the phone has decided to chime in, which is good for recording. Professionalism. That looks like we have the best parts available that aren't illegal. So we are very much good in that regard. Cool. So, I'm going to do what I usually do, or what I've been doing recently. I'm going to go away, I'm going to do practice and qualifying off camera, and then I'm going to come back for the race, and we'll talk you through what happened. So, stay tuned. So, it looks like the weather has put paid to my plans to run a one-stop or a no-stop race. Fernando could have gone the entire 40 laps on a single set of hard tyres, but unfortunately we're going to get some rain, so we're having to start on the inters. I've kind of given George a bit more fuel because I think he's going to need to push to get anything out of his strategy, because he's yeah, not great at looking after the tyres. What I am going to do, because obviously it's not due to rain for a couple of laps, or certainly for the first lap. Um, I've sort of made the decision that I'm going to put them on conserve or backup. I think actually what I might do is put George on backup. Actually, but I put them both on backup because just for the first lap. Because yes, we're going to lose the rest of the grid, but I think the time we lose will catch back up by saving the tyres and being able to extend this stint a little bit longer. George will still have to come in first because he can't hold on to these tyres for 20 laps. He can't. Fernando might be able to, and that should kind of help us split the strategy a little bit. I'm hoping that's the plan anyway. I'm hoping that's how that works out. And then depending what the weather looks like towards the back end of the race, because we're not clear, we'll make the decision at pit stop time what we're going to do in terms of tyres. And the rain's going to stop. Actually, the rain's going to stop somewhere around lap 14, 15 anyway. So we could just go with a neutral tyre and see how that works out for us. They are going to burn slightly quicker whilst they're on dries. This is how the grid shapes up. Sebastian Vettel, absolutely every single qualifying session made work for him. Leclerc on second, and then we've got Graham Rahal in third. We've got Hulkenberg in fourth. We've got Romain Grosjean in fifth and Lewis Hamilton in sixth. And this is going very slowly. Let's do it the faster way. We've got Carlos Sainz working in seventh and Valtteri Bottas in eighth. Ninth and 10th on the grid are Ricciardo and Verstappen. Alonso starts ninth, which is disappointing. It was my fault because in Q2 he could have probably got a time that will get him into Q3. Except I sent him out about 40 seconds too late and the rain hit just as he was about 2/3 of the way through his lap. So it kind of cost him a little bit. And then Pierre Gasly starts in 12th. We've then got Giovinazzi in 13th, Norris in 14th, Raikkonen in 15th, Perez in 16th, Albon in 17th, Stroll in 18th, Kvyat in 19th, and George Russell back of the grid with just awful form. He does have a sort of slight modifier on that. He had a focus issue, so that's not helped. But yeah, he's sitting in 20th. He was never going to get on anywhere in the early stage of this race. We're going to turn these off because I like to have control over those for the opening stages, as you guys know. But yeah, we're going to hope that we can get a good sort of burn of fuel off the line, and we're going to see how that goes for us. Because yeah, we'll go to Fernando because Fernando's the guy we need to watch. I think everyone else must be conserving their tyres. A few around us are. A few are blazing through them. We're sitting in the middle, which is probably actually okay. And the rain is starting now, so we'll see how that shakes out. We're going to go and hit these as hard as we can. I've put it on auto without meaning to it. I was not paying attention. Then let's turn the hybrid mode off. Turn hybrid mode off. We don't want hybrid mode right now. What we want is to go full out, and let's just see what we can push up in terms of places. I think Alonso might be able to get a very, very good lap out of this car, especially in the rain. We know he's good in the rain. A few cars are slipping back already, which is probably a sign. Keeping on George Russell's fuel as well, because I don't want him to burn his car out, because that would be disastrous, but also we need to make sure he does have some fuel for the end of the race. But we'll keep him pushing for now. He's got himself up into 14th, which is pretty strong, and Fernando is riding high in 7th, behind Graham Rahal, but he can probably hang on to the back of him for quite a while. Russell is currently in a battle with Kimi Raikkonen down the end of the field. We're going to move. Now he's on a low fuel delta. We will pull him back down to medium, and we'll see how that holds up, because I think he's probably going to lose positions, but also we will probably get a chance to get something out of him. They're losing temperature in the tyres, which is very concerning. We're going to have to push and hope that doesn't cost us too much in terms of crossover time. Hopefully just putting it on push is going to be enough to keep those temps up, but we will see, as Alonso has lost a couple of places. He's lost a place to Danny Ricciardo. And yeah, this is George Russell complaining he can't get past Max Verstappen. I mean, it's Max Verstappen, but there's not much I can do to help you there. Not a lot I can do to help you at all. I mean, I suppose I could give you that little bit of extra fuel burn, maybe get you back up. there. Will that work for you? In fact, let's go watch him. Let's see what he's doing. I can probably blast some ERS too. I mean, he got past Verstappen, then he lost Verstappen again. He's on the low fuel delta again, but we can keep that going. That's not overly problematic at this stage in the race, because it might just be what it takes to get him past Max. Let's give him another burst there. There you go. We've got him past. That was kind of what it takes. And can he take 12th as well? That would be interesting. If he's taking Giovinazzi, is he? Is he got him? He's got Giovinazzi. That is good running for George Russell there. We're going to take him down to -2, and we're going to put him on neutral fuel just to save some things. I think we're actually going to have to make this a 2-stop race, because we're not quite in that bit where the rain stops yet. In fact, we might have to go back to neutral on the tyres for a little while. These will go down to about 10%-ish, I believe. We're just going to have to keep an eye on things and see how that goes, because there's still places to be gained, but also I'm very aware the rain is going to stop very shortly, and once the rain stops, we are going to be kind of in a period where we have to decide what we're doing. It's going to rain again towards the end of the race. We've got about 20 laps before that happens, so that's going to be okay. We can probably put them both on a set of soft tyres, if I'm honest, and that should help us out immensely. We'll keep an eye on things though, because George Russell is churning tyres. Absolutely churning tyres. Like I say, he's going down to about 10%, so I need it to stop raining before he gets there. In fact, it has stopped raining now, so it might be time for a little gamble. We are looking at lap 30 before it starts getting wet again, which could be the ideal time. I think we're going to bring George in on this lap. Lap 30. I think I don't know whether to risk putting on a set of softs, because he doesn't really have what it takes to take softs for 20 laps. Although 19, 18 laps, maths in my head, 17 laps. Apparently he can do 17, so we'll see if he can make that work for us, because that will be great. We will, in fact, we'll just charge the battery 75 just to avoid overcharging it, and just in case we'll burn some of the ERS as well, because he is just about to come up to the pit lane, and it will save time in the long run. That's kind of my plan as well. So that's got him into the pits. He should be golden for a little while, and we'll bring Fernando in on this lap. We know Fernando will have no trouble taking those as far as he needs to take them, so that should be fine, and we'll give him a full charge of ERS, because Fernando can do that. And I think actually, do we take a risk? It's quite a big risk. I think we'll just go with a balanced pit stop and see if that works out for us. And we'll hope George Russell gets a good, solid, mistake-free pit stop. He looks like he has done. And yeah, it should stand him in a good position. I mean, Stroll and Norris have also come in, which is going to be interesting for him as well. But Fernando is kind of the one right now. He's kind of my guy. You've probably noticed, in fact. Let's give George Russell the benefit of all that ERS we just shoved into his car, and hopefully that should work out nicely for us. These tyres mistake-free. That's what we like to see. Perfect. A 1.9 pit stop, which will do the job just magic, and then we'll give him a big old push out of the pits and try and make up for some of the deficit that his tyres will inevitably have. That should bring us out somewhere quite nice, just behind Ricciardo, which is actually okay, because I think a lot of these cars are going to start ahead. They're taking the Inters as far as they can get them, which I understand, but also that crossover point is coming within about a lap, and if they don't come in for tyres soon, then they're going to have bigger issues at hand. We're also catching Daniel Ricciardo, which is good, making the best of that rain, or of the crossover even, and now Alonso's up into 7th, which is even better for us. I think Hamilton and Verstappen are probably out of sight right now, although Verstappen, we've got Verstappen, so it's just Hamilton really. Hamilton was getting the benefit of the crossover, but I think we're going to be okay. I think maybe we'll make it through to the end. It's just a case of keeping an eye on pit stops, keeping an eye on that rain's coming, hoping that we can get these guys through as best we can. Let's see what George Russell's doing. Is George Russell any closer to catching anyone? Doesn't look like he is. Although in fairness, we give him a big old boost of ERS, maybe that will cut that time down. It has taken half a second out. We are going to use the ERS with Alonso to defend against Hulkenberg too, because Hulk is getting a little bit too close for comfort. I don't like that. I don't want to see that. I never want to see that. That's never going to be okay. So yeah, we're gonna have to hope for the best here, I think, because top 10 was ambitious. I mean, we should be on roughly the same pit cycle as everyone else now. So maybe it'll work out. Maybe there's a couple of seconds to be gained from an undercut or an overcut. We'll have to see how that works out. It's going to have to be George that comes in first, because he will never ever get a set of tyres as far as they're supposed to go. He just doesn't have the smoothness in his driving, unfortunately. But we're looking good. We're looking okay. I think maybe we can gain a little bit actually by getting George Russell on the wet tyres just a touch early as well, because he can actually make that work for him. He's you know, he won't be able to drive on slicks in the wet quite as well as Fernando will. So actually that works out quite well as a split strategy. He wants to attack a bit more, but also I don't want his tyres to get awful. We are 5 laps out from the rain. How long's he got on these tyres, roughly? He's got 6 to 8 laps. We can probably give him a little bit of a push, actually. We can probably push them a little bit. How long's Alonso got on his? Presumably a little bit longer. 9 to 11. So actually, maybe a touch of a push to get some heat into the tyres is going to work out okay for us. That might be actually pretty acceptable. Alonso is 4.5 seconds down on Danny Ricciardo, which is it's not great. Russell is kind of in a battle with Verstappen. There's no one near Fernando right now, so we can kind of stick with George. See how that goes, because also we've got to be mindful of the fact that he will have to come in for the pits probably towards the back end of this lap, I think. Let's see how we're doing in terms of getting close to the rain. I'll probably have to conserve his tyres a little bit, if I'm honest, because otherwise he's not actually going to make it anywhere near the crossover point. It will cost him that place from Verstappen. That's unfortunate, but it's just the way it's going to have to be. We can probably actually put him into high engine mode, which might mitigate some of that a little bit too. Fernando is complaining of worn tyres. I understand, Bird, but you'll make that work. Whereas George Russell is a problem. George Russell is a problem. We're going to bring that down to neutral, because he will not get these tyres as far as he needs to. In fact, that was perfect timing. That was perfect timing for us, because now we should be able to get to the end on a set of inters. Give him a full recharge. He's suffering a little bit with the brakes, but that should be fine. He should make it to the end. We'll do that. That should be fine. We'll put him on to the high ERS mode. He should just about have time to burn that. Alonso has gone past the pits, so he can make this work. We're going to go to a set of inters with you. We're going to go rear wings looking shaky, but we'll probably be okay. And hopefully that will work out okay for us. And we're going to put it on just regular mode, so I can keep control of the tyres, because that's going to be a big issue. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm going to put Fernando on a big old attacking in lap, because that's going to be maybe the difference. It might be the difference, so we'll go with that. Because I don't know how much of that 4-5 second gap we're going to make up with Ricciardo by doing it, but it might be the only way, and we're going to go straight to pushing out of the pits with George Russell. We'll switch to Fernando now, so we can see what's going on with his pit stop. He's not really taking any time out of Danny Ricciardo, which is concerning. Why did that not do anything? Let's go to there. Yeah, he's not taking a lot of time out of Danny Ricciardo, so hopefully we're going to be able to make that work on the in lap here. And he should just be coming up to the pit lane entrance now, so we'll do that. Almost lost the back end actually on his way into the pits, which is a little bit worrying. George Russell, though, on a push, he's using it very well. He is catching very slowly Romain Grosjean, taking some time out of Romain Grosjean at least, which hopefully will bring him back into that fight. Hopefully Alonso is going to come out of this fight, out of this somewhere ahead of Nico Hulkenberg would be ideal. Looks like actually that little overcut or undercut has worked. The overcut, I guess it was, has worked, because there's a lot of guys behind us who are still stuck in the pits, and we're going to have a big old push actually out of the pits, and we can go into high speed mode now, and we'll see if we can see this through. George Russell has a little bit of fuel left to play with, but we'll not stress too much because we can probably use that towards the end. Alonso is pretty much in clean air, so he should be okay towards the end of the race now. We can maybe give a little bit of a extra boost of fuel usage to George to help him try and stay in touch with Max Verstappen, because that would be better. Use that ERS, try and keep Giovinazzi behind. I mean, I say this like it matters, because also I'm very aware that George Russell doesn't really have any hope of scoring any points. He is reporting that he's got an issue with his brakes though, so maybe we'll just let him finish his race as he goes. Nico is in hybrid mode, which is good. In fact, we'll put that onto auto, because I'm sure he can figure out how to manage his stuff. Alonso's getting caught by Hulkenberg very quickly, so we'll give him a little push away. Hope that works out okay for him. We can probably actually turn these tyres up, because we've got not a lot of distance to go in the race, and yeah. Now that I've given that a little bit of thought, I can probably put Fernando onto auto as well. I'm not going to go pushing any more fuel, because I'm aware that we are having park condition warnings on both drivers. I don't want to damage the car and crash unnecessarily. Although actually, having said that, they do have enough fuel left. They should be able to make that work. It should be fine. And if it's not, they'll go into hybrid mode, you'd hope. So we'll see how this goes. I think Alonso is going to keep hold of 6th. I think he's pretty much set in 6th. We are going through tyres a little bit quickly. In fact, maybe we will drop George down, because in fact we don't need to. We're on the last lap. We are going into the last lap now. It should be fine no matter what we do. Let's just see if we can get anything out of this race. George Russell's complaining about worn tyres. You've got to go one lap, bud. I'm sure you'll make it. Fernando should be fine as well. Those tyres will overheat, but that's going to be fine. I think we're going to take a nice 6th place, which should be perfect for us. A 6th place will do the job for us. It's more points than we have any right to be expecting with the car we've got. And yeah, that's worked out pretty much okay for us. So we'll gratefully accept that, I think, is the answer to the question. No one asked the question. We're going to skip that though, because that gets us, in trouble. Yeah, not gone too badly. The acquisition of Fernando Alonso has definitely helped us with the point scoring. We're definitely making inroads, or keeping the gap, I should say, ahead of Haas. I don't think it's actually doing much to help us close up on the teams ahead of us, but it's certainly doing enough. I mean, that's not giving us points over Renault or Ferrari or Mercedes. Might have given us a few points over Red Bull, but I doubt it. It's definitely increased the gap over Haas, which is going to be the big issue here, really. Let's just make sure scrutineering goes through okay. We should be fine. Other teams, however, might have decided to push something. We'll see how that goes. Are there any penalties? There are no penalties. So we've taken 8 points off the race. Red Bull have taken 6 off the race. In fact, that's probably increased our gap over Haas by 7 points, and it's taken 2 points out of Red Bull, which is actually not too bad in terms of constructors. Fernando is on the verge of passing Romain on in the drivers' championship too. I mean, if he can get in the top 10, that would be outstanding for a guy who's only had basically half a season. You can see that. I mean, we're not really in a race with Red Bull. We're in a fight to try and catch Renault, try and beat Renault. But we've increased the gap to 11 points over Haas, which is strong, especially 2/3 of the way through the season. We're looking okay. We're looking fine. yeah, so things are going okay. I think what we're going to do for the next episode is I'm going to start the day after this race, and we'll work through all of the back end stuff that I haven't been showing you, because I don't see a good reason not to. Is kind of what's going on. So yeah, we'll make that work for us. I'm just going to do another save in a second, which is going to be a real pain, but I've got used to the painful auto. So let's have a look, see how George Russell has developed from that race. He should have done quite well off it. We come in fourth, but we're expected to come in 10th, which means the chairman's happy. Means our marketability should be about to reach 100%, just in time for new sponsors to be coming in next season, which seems like miles away now. Hasn't actually improved George Russell as a driver, which is slightly disappointing, but we'll see how that goes. And we've not made any money at all. We've lost quite a considerable chunk of money, but we've got used to doing that, so that should be actually okay, especially when we get our prize money in at the end of the season. And there's confirmation your podium: Hamilton, Vettel, and Leclerc. Anything good happen in F2? Nick De Vries got himself a win. I don't know who this Bochung is. I don't watch enough F2. I probably Ralph Bochung. I feel like I should know his name, but I don't. Anyone else jumping out? Jordan King getting himself a third as well, which is quite good. And yeah, things going okay. Mick Schumacher not setting the world on fire, but he has had a 6th place finish today, so that's worked out okay. Right, I think that's going to be a place we're going to end this episode, and then next episode we're going to literally pick back up here, and we'll go through the gap between races. I'll kind of show you how I make things work, assuming anything actually comes in. Because yeah, like I said, we don't do enough back end stuff. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because liking and subscribing helps everyone feel better about themselves, especially me, whilst I'm off doing examy stuff. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I have been Chasing Lamely, and I will see you very soon. Have a good one.